Censorship in China versus Japan. What is censorship? When any form of expression is suppressed, it is considered censorship. Some examples are given below. We plan to cover how censorship is used in China and Japan, and how the governments, news media, companies, and people have exercised the use of censorship in their societies. Censorship in China is quite extreme and focuses heavily on the spread and acquisition of information. China perceives that the media is a primary source of information among its youth, thus they target certain sources on the internet to restrict, mostly social media. This has been accomplished by what is popularly known as China's Great Firewall. China's Great Firewall is their internet censoring system that triggers based on certain words that have been searched, allowing China to censor searches and social media posts. The Great Firewall is primarily used to censor sensitive information that can cause disruptions among the public, especially its views towards the government. One application called WeChat serves as one of China's most effective censoring tools due to its widespread popularity. Video games in China are considered a threat to the public. The government has censored violence, drunkenness, and gambling from games. Players must meet an age requirement and have their identifications registered to play after midnight. Literature in China is also kept on a tight leash. They censor promotions of Western values and inappropriate topics in textbooks, novels, or online literature, like promiscuity and violence. In Japan, there are many different forms of censorship. This ranges from the entertainment industry, news media, and literature. Video games in Japan censor violence and gore. For instance, a YouTube channel called Censored Gaming covered the difference between the US and Japanese versions of Call of Duty World War II, as you can see in the pictures below. In literature, specific words deemed as inappropriate for an audience are often changed. For example, from the manga Hokuto no Ken, an original publication contained "A pig belongs in a slaughterhouse" and now reads "I have nothing to say to a pig." Even history textbooks have been known to be censored. The Ministry of Education holds the perspective that a textbook from Japan for Japanese students must support the actions of the state and its leaders, regardless of their consequences. Some textbooks do not always portray Japanese war crimes as they should, such as those in the Battle of Okinawa. Another form of censorship is called self-censorship, in which many Japanese citizens self-censor their posts and comments on social media in order to maintain harmony and avoid risking censure and even physical harm from right-wing fanatics. In the Constitution of Japan, Article 21 states that all forms of expression are guaranteed, no censorship shall be maintained, nor shall the secrecy of any means of communication be violated. Now for some comparisons and similarities. Both countries have censorship, although it may be regulated by different people in China and Japan, such as the government or internet service providers respectively. Furthermore, vulgarities and inappropriate languages are often censored, video games are censored similarly, and literature has been censored in both countries. A possible explanation for this could be that not everyone finds certain forms of expression appropriate for a given audience. As for some differences and contrasts, in China, censorship is implemented by the government in order to maintain social stability. A possible explanation for this is that by restricting content, the chance to disrupt society will decrease. Furthermore, these restrictions will align with the state's belief about maintaining control in the government's favor. In contrast, censorship is rarely implemented by the Japanese government. A possible explanation for this is because Japan's constitution supports freedom of expression. Most of the censorship comes from the citizens and companies that reside there. The motive is to maintain a sense of morality within the society and to avoid controversy. In the literature of China, the spread of Western ideas and unsavory topics are censored. A possible explanation for this could be that China wants to maintain its ideologies. The country is not very receptive to criticism, so why would they adopt new values and ideas? In Japan, censorship of literature appears to be motivated by their idea of cultural appropriateness and towards whatever demographic their audience identifies with. A possible explanation for this could be that Japanese citizens value tranquility. They censor themselves so that they do not offend others. As for history books, it seems as though Japan finds it easier to bury any kind of misconduct than own up to their mistakes. Overall, the differences between these two countries are big and vast in terms of these use of censorship. China's government is politically motivated and does not want to be deemed as weak or in a negative light. And the people in Japan, another influential country, do not want to be deemed as wildly inappropriate, as they are very conscientious of how others are affected by their certain publications. And on an ending note, here are some stats on the freedom of China and Japan. Thank you for watching our presentation. I hope you enjoyed.